Well, where's my mouse?
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. Markets, not markets. It's the wrong show.
It is the wrong show.
Hello and
back up.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast, Boots on the Ground number 6. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Axon Tire, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. For more information, go to axontire.com. Now, you fashion a hat from time to time, don't you?
From time to time.
Do you do more like a Stetson 10-gallon? Like, what are you doing?
I haven't worn a taco for about 30 years. That's a Dave Fennell. I haven't worn a taco for about 25 years, or about 20 years.
20 years.
So yeah, I do like me a ball hat.
A nice ball hat. Well, go to marketing@axontire.com. Just give them your information. They'll send you a free Alliance branded ball cap that you can sport.
Terrific.
On your next date.
Absolutely.
There you go. All
backwards.
Right, so backwards. Maybe tilted just a little bit to the side.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Sup.
That's exactly how I used to wear mine. Just a little bit cockeyed to make people question you a little bit.
Just go to marketing@axontire.com and they'll send you one out. Send them your details and they'll get you one out to you. So check that out. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs at Valley. Our transportation, no, that's not how it goes. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. And I'll give you one of these. And no matter how you buy your farm equipment, whether it's from a dealer, an auction, or a private party, AgDirect can help you finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com. All right. So this week we have a very special guest, one that is very near and dear to both my heart and Aaron's heart. So it's one of our special friends from the place where God put his ever last blessing on, and that's
and not only from an I-state, but where two I-states touch.
Three I-states.
Three I-states touch.
And they've come together to make this nice little bread basket of the world. That
bread basket.
We had an awful year. It only rained 73 times.
Our yield was way off this year. It was only 300.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We're going to have to invest in a pivot someday. This 350 corn is not working.
Your corn yielded more than my wheat per acre. So yeah, high five. Okay. So Brent Bowen from AHW. How you doing, man?
Good to see you, boys. I'm great.
Good to have you, my man.
Good to be on, man.
I'm great. I am super. It's a little. You guys are in t-shirts. I'm in a sweatshirt. No big deal. But
yeah.
It's hot out here.
Yeah. I think it's 45 today.
Yep. Well, Brent is.
Would you rather grow 300 bushel of corn or wear a t-shirt in May?
No comment.
Brent Bowen is a good friend of ours. We've known him for forever. As long as I've been doing this.
Coon's age, if you will.
And he's a fellow wholesaler. I keep saying like I'm still part of that group, but I'm not.
You are. You're always part of that group.
I'm like the fifth wheel on the third wheel on the date.
No.
It's like the guy that's hanging out. Like you used to be cool. Then
you got to think of it this way.
You want to further your career.
You got me going in it, and I was like tied for first. Okay, so this whole realm is yours.
No, this is
you are our Gandalf.
Wow, that
was reach. Wasn't it?
Really a nerdy.
I'm really surprised that I even know how to relate that.
So much is explained now.
I know.
So many things just
take it easy, Schmiegel. There's two.
Goodness gracious.
So, Brent, tell everybody what you do at AHW, man.
So I've been with. I came to AHW, which at the time was Aaron's brother's. Right out of college, and I thought I knew something, and then I got hired, and I thought I knew something about farm equipment, and then I went to work with farm equipment every day, and I learned I didn't know anything, and I had to lot of good teachers along the way. And I've been doing this since 2010, not always in the wholesale side, but always selling something. Ran the fleet, ran the transportation for a number of years and sold. And just always was at one of our larger inventory stores and just running the fleet. Our old wholesale manager obviously worked out of this office, and it just kind of migrated over to me because I knew these people because we were working back and forth with deliveries. And goodness, I guess for the last 4 years, that's pretty much been my main focus. And in the last 2 years, that's all I do. I don't deal in the retail side much anymore, but mostly almost always wholesale. I'll still jump in and sell a retail piece here or there if we have to. If I still office out of a store, I still have an office on the showroom. So I'll still sell some retail when the other guys are out in the field with local customers. So I'll still get involved with that some, but most of the time I'm dealing with guys just like you.
Right on.
And that's kind of it. That's all I know. That's all I literally know is sell farm equipment.
Well, thanks for joining us, Brent. It's been a pleasure to have you on the
Thanks.
podcast.
Appreciate that. So now today we're going to talk about a myriad of things. So throw a few things out there. One is obviously with Brent being where he's at in the ice state that he is. So it is wicked cold up there. And real fast, I got to play this.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
When you hear Easy E come on, we're not coming straight out of Compton. All
It's
right.
getting real.
We're just going to talk about a little street knowledge that we got out there. So we got all kinds of fun stuff happening out in that neck of the woods. So if you look at what's happening right now in Illinois, it is cold, it is wet. I've talked to a lot of my buddies out that way, and it's just a slow turn right now as far as getting stuff planted.
Yep.
What are you seeing out there, man?
Incredibly wet. I think we're 2 inches of rain for the week. So incredibly wet. We had a late snow and a lot of rain right about 2 weeks before we were getting ready to go. And that put us back. We knew real quick we were going to be at least a week behind. But I think as of today, at least, I've driven the entire territory in the last week. We have one little isolated spot of our territory, which would be our farthest west territory, which would be around that Springfield area. They have the most amount done, but the rest of us have had from 2 days to no more than 5 days in the field. Right. So, and that's in the field, that's working ground, that's planting, that's not 5 planting days. And some of what we've done here local was marginally fit at best. And we just did it because the calendar says, hey,
exactly.
It's time.
First,
right.
Yeah. So I've said it 1,000 times in the last week. God bless ExactEmerge planners. God bless ExactEmerge planners. So, we'd be in trouble if we didn't have them, but they're just so incredible. It's just amazing. Every year, how many years have they been out? What that was the first one was
2015.
6. Yeah. 7.
Yeah. I was like, I remember we were getting some prototypes and it was like, wow, that's impressive. And every year, after this many years, you'd think you'd just be accustomed to it. And you're like, Mr. Customer, what'd you plant today? Oh, just 600 acres.
Yeah.
With the 24 row. I mean, it's just staggering. So, we have the horsepower, we have the machinery, we're blessed to be in the heart of great farm ground, lot of late model, high speed equipment. We can get a lot done when we can get in there. So nobody's panicking. I was in the office all day, talked to several customers as they come through. Nobody's panicking, but we're all kind of like, we've done everything we can do. They're finding random projects to work on because they just can't get anything done that they want to get done. So,
but the good news is
getting shorter.
Yeah. Oh yeah. to that point, you watch the planning progress every day, every week, whatever. Minimal percent. And we've seen the same thing since 2015.
Yes.
One week, and we're ahead of the 5-year average. 1 week. That's it.
We just need, we're all a little bit nervous, at least in our territory. From where I'm at to the north, and I was literally at the Wisconsin state line yesterday, everyone is nervous about we've got some crop in the ground, and we've had enough rain, but tomorrow I think 70 and sunny here, and then Sunday is warmer yet and windy, and then Monday it's like really warm and really windy. We're just worried that what we've already done, we're going to have to go out and rotary hoe or won't get to it and have to replant. So we started when it was fit enough to start, and now it's like, boy, we're just I just said about 3 times a day, 2/10 of rain on Tuesday is not going to piss anybody off at all. At least, but there's a long road to hoe to go, and we'll get it done. Always do. Got the equipment. We've got 25 guys out of my shop. We've got everybody in the neighborhood. We've got big shops. We can get it done. We can get it done fast. It's not like when we were kids where it takes a month.
Right.
Give us 10 days in the field, and we're going to make it happen.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and you know what? You're spot on. It used to be a month of corn, a month of beans.
Yep.
If you had Milo, it was a month. Half a month to a month of Milo.
Yep.
That was planting season. It was 3 months.
Our Indiana stores would be a little bit farther along than we are. They just soil type got in there a little bit earlier, maybe 4 or 5 days earlier, and they pushed harder and got more done. But all in all, in our territory, East Central Illinois, up to Northern Illinois and West Central Indiana, we got a couple of weeks of work to do, but it's going to click off. When we can go, we'll go, and it's going to click off fast.
Yep.
Yep. So speaking of what you're just talking about, you got the equipment, everything's the way it is. We have had an incredible run of selling equipment over the last 2 years, right? More so in the last 4 months than we've had in the previous 2 years. But I guess as you're looking at what's going on right now, I mean, the wholesale side of the business, interest rates isn't really that big of a story. I mean, if you got a buyer for the piece of equipment, you're going to find someone that wants to buy. I mean, it's just that simple, right? But on the flip side of that is the guy reselling that piece of equipment's got to worry about interest rates. So I guess when you're looking around, Brent, and you're talking to people, how's that interest rate conversation going with you?
Very tricky to be super vague.
See, I'm giving you cheers right here. That's right.
Our retail buyers are obviously just like yours. It doesn't matter what state they're in or what plant or what crop they're growing. They're hypersensitive to interest rates. And I'll say they're probably more cognizant of the effect of interest rate now due to the fact that, rewind the clock. Again, I have only been doing this for a blip of time, but 10 years ago, 12 years ago, there was no such thing as a $300,000 tractor. Just
right.
Those were new tractors. Who starts to talk about, and now what what a $300,000 tractor? That's the starting point to get on the lot. Unfortunately,
right.
The inventory mix has got a lot of holes in it. So
that $300,000 tractor now is a deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're not pulling exact emerges with $300,000 tractors most of the time. I'll just say that, but they're definitely more cognizant of the interest rate and those conversations when I talk to other salesmen and just talk to customers as they come in and out, or when I visit with them, when I go to a store, they're very aware. And I would say I don't want to say paranoid, but they're anxious, not even only in our business, but just life in general. The interest rate obviously going up. So they're anxious. A lot of the people we deal with went through the last, or the only one that we would know, interest rate crisis, I'm going to call it. And I think they're aware that we don't have to have those interest rates into the teens for things to turn out the same way.
No.
Because the dollars at hand are just, I don't know how many X, I'm going to say 4X more. So they're very aware of it, very aware of it.
Yep.
And I remember when, a 0% interest rate, at times it wasn't, we need to sell a used combine. We're going to use 0%. Like now it's like, hey, you're getting a smoking deal at 3.5 or 4. Like,
yeah, for sure.
And there was 15 years where 0 was like nobody cared.
Yeah.
Everybody has 0 on combines.
Right.
If you don't have 0, you're the odd man out. Like, well, why are you guys at 2%? Like, because we all are.
Yeah. Because that's where I can sympathize with that a lot, because we lived it a little bit. We kind of held interest. We always treated each deal by the deal.
Right.
So
yeah,
we just throw.
Each deal was on its own, right?
Each deal stood on its own. We'd rather buy interest on combines that stay local. It's no secret. The World Wide Web has changed this used equipment market. So, if we're going to buy interest rate down to 0, well, we'd prefer to do it where the guy's going to come back and get his next one. But, overriding factor, each deal stood on its own when it came to interest. And nowadays it's, just I was trying to sell a tractor the other day, and what's the cheap interest on it? Well, the cheap interest looks like 4.5%, or I think it was 4.75, whatever it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's the cheap interest, huh?
Yep.
Yes, it is, actually.
Yep. So kind of back to your point, and this is the point I've talked about a lot on here. If you go back to the 80s, when everybody wants to reference the 80s, the 80s, this 80s, it was an awful time, no doubt about it. Interest rates were anywhere from 14% to 20%. I mean, you could have financed your farm on a credit card and it would have been cheaper, to do it that way. But long story short is, if you go back to 1983, 84, 85, something like that, and you take the cumulative amount of equipment on the farm, I'm talking all equipment, trucks, trailers, support equipment, harvesting equipment, planting equipment, and all the tractors that you do everything with in between, I bet you would have had $1 million.
I disagree. Respectfully.
Yeah, I think you'd have to really push to hit that.
But I'm saying, like, I'm talking a larger operation.
If you took a mud guy,
a big. I'm not talking like the one tractor, one combine, and a grain trailer type. I'm talking like a large operation on a scale that we would think of a larger operator now. They're probably still farming the same number of acres they were farming way back when, right? You had,
except now their loader tractor is a 4850.
So now you have the same
big tractor.
You get the same question now, where you're looking at, you might have a tractor and a planter, and that's $1 million. Right.
Oh, for sure.
So now start looking at these bigger operators, and you start asking them, what's your this, that, and other. I mean, they've got 5 or 6 4-wheel drives, and they've got, 2 of those are on planters, 2 of those are on tillage running before ahead of that. Then you got 2, something else running, some kind of a deep ripping tillage of some sort, or whatever it is that they're doing, whatever the practices are. Then you got all the 8Rs, stuff like those kind of things that come into play. That 300 horsepower row crop tractor, and then you got 2 or 3 combines on top of that, and then you've got so on and so forth, and you just keep going in the line. Next thing you know, you're looking at $12-15 million. Even the small operator, smaller guy, he's running $3 to $4 million worth of stuff.
But that goes back to my point of if you had the big multi-unit guy in 1985,
Right.
okay,
Yep.
the biggest possible row crop tractor he could have would be a 4850.
Right.
Okay. That now is a 6R.
Right.
A middle of the road,
Right.
almost 6R.
Yep.
The smallest 7R.
Right.
So,
But that was also the days of
it's kind of the economics of scale, if you will.
Yeah. And I will. They have you're talking about back. I mean, you had specific tractors for specific jobs.
Oh yeah.
You had a planting tractor, you had a tillage tractor,
Absolutely.
you had this, that, and the other thing, whatever it was, you ran down the line. Today, with the exception of the loader tractor, right? So many of these tractors are being used in multiple situations, right? Multiple you're not just taking a 4-wheel drive and it's not just your tillage tractor anymore, right? It's a tillage tractor, it's a planting tractor, and it's a grain cart tractor, in some situations.
I agree with both of you in that regard.
All right, cool, we win.
I lean more towards Aaron's side of things because
come on, dude.
There we go.
Doing?
I just, in my conversations with guys, the dollars invested in these machines just to do, let's say you are an absolute mega BTO in 1985, cranking out 3,000 acres, right?
Yep.
Maybe you had $1 million worth of machinery. Maybe.
Well, yeah, because you start, okay, say you farm 10,000 or 3,000, 5,000 acres in 85. You could have 4 8820
right
Titan 2s with 1243 low 10 oil bath heads. And you have not even opened the door to the $1 million party.
Right. And so
and now today it's like, well, we have that X9 and
I guess what I was getting at with that was to farm that same 3,000 to 4,000 acres today. And let's say you've been progressive to keep up with things along the way and traded pretty regularly, started trading combines back in the 9,500 roll days and stuck with it. The dollars on paper, it's like you've got your 8400R that's, again, I don't deal with new, but it's 400 plus. You've got your high speed planter that's almost 400. You've got your 780. You've got your 30-foot folding chopping corn head. You've got your 640 FD. Your goodness gracious, your dang head carts are $13,000 or $14,000.
Yeah, no shit.
And then let's talk about the 3 or 4 semis you got to have and the hopper bottoms. So you've got 3x the amount of inventory that you have to do the job in a timely manner. And your interest rate only has to be half as bad. I.e., in my brain, I keep saying it's 7% to make things just unwind. So that's how I've been looking at it in my super simple, I sell used equipment mind. The dollars we have invested in machinery are at least 2, but probably more like 3x. So interest rate only has to be half of what it was at the start of the problem time, at the start of interest rate.
Yeah.
Right.
And I
10
think
10 is the new
there.
20.
Yeah.
Well, it's no different than when we go out to dinner, you used to go out to dinner with $100 bill and hey, me and the wife had dinner. Now it's well, you did, that's not going to cover it.
Where's the rest?
In Alliance, Nebraska,
it's not going to cover it.
In Alliance, Nebraska, if you take $100 bill and Aaron Fennell's autograph to any steakhouse, you get a steak for free. So.
Actually, you can get a steak for $120.
But I just think that
right, yeah.
I just think we've got a lot more dollars out there on the table just to do. And I'm not going to talk about land because it's expensive. I don't care if you're in Alliance, Nebraska or Melvin, Illinois, it's expensive. So, just on the machinery side of things, I think this interest rate is hypercritical. It could.
Well, that interest rate also has a bigger it's bigger than what it costs you to service that debt. We're talking about from an entire world national economy. There's only so. I mean, the U.S. back in the 80s, I think our whole entire national debt might have been. I have no idea what it was, but it's probably like $5 billion. $10 billion, something like that. Today, it's if you do the same math today, I mean, we're looking at $39 trillion or whatever it is up to now. That's like a whole nother level of
as you guys know, I'm kind of a military history nut, and I think something to the effect that a javelin missile today is $75,000. They're a one-trick pony. You shoot it once, it's done. There's your 75 grand. And I think at the time in the late 60s, a Huey was only like $200,000, and they flew. They're still flying.
Still flying today, right? Yeah.
But so let's think about that.
That goes back to your 8820 Titan 2 and your and your head and everything else. Those three things all together, I don't think you even got $200,000 yet.
No way.
When it was new.
Way. No.
I think you might have 50,000 for the entire package.
Oh, I bet you're more than that if you have the right shit. If it's 4-wheel drive and duals.
Okay, $75,000. Okay, you've got a $75,000 combine and head, so you're sitting on 100 and whatever. You might be at 200,000, but you're not much over 200,000.
Right.
The head. I've asked these questions because again, I'm a student of history. I've asked the guys that lived through it, that were in the machinery business. I just kind of asked them one time in passing in 2015, 14-ish, sometime when we were in that last trough, what was the baddest combine in 1986? Well, it's obviously a 8820 Titan 2 straddle duals. I don't think it was 85,000 from memory. They told me exactly what they were selling for when they actually could sell one, when someone had money to buy it.
I don't think the first $100,000 combine was still like the 10 series combine.
I will tell you this: the first new tractor I ever sold, was a 2004 Magnum 230. First new tractor I ever sold. It was not $100,000.
Yeah.
And it had suspension, it had all the shit, and it was not $100,000. What is that? 18 years ago.
So
yeah.
And now you could buy 4 of those.
Yep.
I've got a funny story that kind of runs along those lines, because again, in my relatively short career, I've almost only ever sold used. And I had the privilege or honor to sell the first used tractor for the company that eclipsed $300,000. And it was a 2011 9630T with it must have had a PTO.
Oh yeah. It had PTO and gold plated bogies.
And it was I think we sold it for $325,000, and it was killed 2 records with one sale. It was the highest priced used tractor, because some combines had kind of gotten near that.
Right.
And I think it was they've gotten near that, but it was also the highest selling price piece of used equipment. And I was like, look what I did. And then literally 12 months later, that record was blown out of the water. Like it never even existed out of the water. So, and back to our point, 300,000, that's just like your ticket to get in the door. Unfortunately, again, because I like used equipment, I like selling old weird stuff, but
amen, brother.
We both know the reality of this anymore is the equipment on the yard, the used equipment on the yard is it's a lot more money, even than it was 12 years ago when I started doing it. Just so much more.
Astronomically.
Yeah. So much more. We were joking earlier. What did we used to do to sell 8360Rs? They had 500 hours, anything we could. Now it's like, I wish I had those back. Goodness.
No shit.
No, yeah, you're exactly right. And I think the long-term effects of this thing,
I don't think it's a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing. I mean, it's really not. I mean, think about it this way. This is something I've been giving a lot of thought about. I've been thinking about this for the last 5 or 6 weeks, and I've been really hesitant to bring it up on the market or on this podcast because I just, I never really knew how to talk about it without it sounding just like overwhelmingly negative. But if we get down into 2022, 23, 24, something like that, and let's just talk about through this year. I mean, if the Fed continues to do what they're doing, we're going to have 7% interest rates from all I don't care what lending institution you go to. You're going to have 7.5, maybe even 8% interest rates, right? If the Fed continues with it, and they've said nothing about it, right? They're not going to stop away from doing anything that you see there. I'm not an economist, so all you people out there that want to throw darts, whatever. Okay,
throw them at Casey, but have good aim, please.
I'm not an economist, but I've just watched the patterns of what we see now. I mean, if the Fed raises the rate 0.5%, I don't care what lending institution it is. I don't care what it goes up a whole point on the backside. So you got the Fed rate, you got prime rate, and then you got what everybody else borrows at, right?
Yep.
So now you're sitting out there. There'll come a point in time when it won't matter what we have on the lot. It won't. I mean, just because of interest rates and what they are, sooner or later, that trickle, that slamming the door that we see is just like of people just running through that door as fast as they can to come buy something. It's going to stop.
Oh yeah, quick.
It's going to stop.
I'm not going to. Okay, let me rephrase that. It won't stop. It'll slow way down, but the price of used equipment is still going to stay high.
Right.
It's a supply and demand thing.
And like again, we've been friends a long time, and we all lived through the last one. In the strictly speaking to the equipment business, where here we are in the end of first quarter. What was that? 2013? Like something's off here a little bit. And by the time we knew what was happening, it's too late.
Oh,
it was too late. We couldn't react. We'd already made the trade. Something odd is happening here. Yep. And, nobody's crystal ball was that clear. When you're talking about a lot of volume, nobody saw that going the way it did. Mm-hmm. I think I'll say that I agree with you guys that there's a tipping point. I've been saying it for a while that I think it's a 7. I'm not an economist. I'm not a mathematician. My wife would absolutely agree with that. But I've been saying it for a while. I think that 7% has got some trigger in there because everybody realizes everything costs twice as much. Well, it really started to go bad at 14%. And they're all those guys that they were coming into the industry or into the business when they were like, oh shoot, that was cheap interest at 14.
Sure.
Right.
Yep. I think the one thing to your point, Brent, that is, if you go back to like 2005, 2004, 2006, in that time frame,
right?
There 6% interest rates were a thing. That was
they absolutely were.
When I first got in this business, and I was going to, I was selling, Challenger tractors, those kind of things. I mean, it was like, we get a 6% interest.
Was it really? See, I was trying to think of that the other day, and I was thinking after 9/11,
5 and 6. After 9/11, they came in and said, "Hey, 0% interest for infinity," and that's when.
That's what we've been running on till today.
Exactly, and that's why we also, quantitative easing has created this bubble that we're in, and now all of a sudden we had this inflationary thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm going to write an article here, and again, because I'm not an economist, I'm going to write an article on the economy.
Why not?
High five.
There you go.
Right. That's what we do. But here's what I'm saying is, like, once the supply chain thing gets kind of figured out and everything starts rolling again, that inflation is going to start coming back down. Interest rates are going to follow that. I don't think this is like a long-term, this is the new normal. This is a blip in time. It might take a year to get through all this, but it's a blip in time.
All I can say is this. Last time these conversations were had in agriculture, okay, Big Green was short new. There was a scuttlebutt involving wheat and Russia. Interest rates jumped.
Yeah.
I was 1 year old. Now I'm 43.
I think the difference in that time frame was that was a legitimate inflationary period
That was global,
based on
countrywide.
This inflationary period that we're in right now, and this interest rate period that we're in now, all of this, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's not monetary policy and everything else that comes into that. But what I will tell you is that this is a made thing, right? This happened
absolutely.
because of shutting the entire world's economy down in 2020.
Absolutely.
This is shutting down. I mean, all this stuff that we see happening is all because of right now, because, in Shanghai, China, the whole entire town is shut down where no one's doing anything.
Except the Knights. The Shanghai Knights are still up.
That doesn't even make sense. I don't know what that means.
It's a movie, dude.
I'm just busting. I'm breaking balls. That's what I do.
God, what movie is that? I mean, I watch a lot of movies, and
it's a Jackie Chan. Rush Hour 3.
Rush Hour 3, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, but all of this is all. I don't want to use the manufacturer because that's not true. But I mean, it's just all these shutdowns and all this stuff and start and stop, and then now we have all these things out there that are like, it's cheaper and I make more money not going to work. I mean, all those things start playing into that,
Right.
And that's a big deal, And I can't, you're right. It can't last forever. And sooner or later, hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah. Sooner
that comes back into play. But that's my thing is like, once, I mean, we've talked about this on here. I mean, once all the manufacturers are back running and at 100% and they're cranking stuff out as fast as they can, used equipment is going to adjust quickly to that.
Oh,
right. As soon as
fingers crossed.
As soon as you look out the back window over here and you're like, how I didn't know we had a combine out there. You look in the inventory and you're like, oh, we've had that combine for 6 months.
Yeah.
Or we had that tractor for 2.5 months. Like, holy crap. We've had a tractor for 2.5 months. What's going on here, Mr. And then all of a sudden you're panicking. And then because you're so used to just someone walking in. I mean, anyone that runs a location can sit there and can't honestly tell me that they know how long something sit out there. By the time they realize it's there, it's been there for 30 days.
But
it's been there for 60 days.
But the difference to that is if you have someone on staff like Brent and I watch that days like a hawk.
Oh, dude. I mean, any used equipment guy has got that spreadsheet set up that shows days in inventory, and you're just tracking that days in inventory like crazy. The guy that's actually out there trying to push that piece of equipment, it doesn't register in their head to like day 32. And then, oh man,
like,
look at that.
They're like,
their hair's on fire, and they're like, they went over to duck their head because the bucket had water in it, so they ducked their head there to get the hair off the fire thing. And they went over there and they're like, oh wow, where'd this tractor come from?
They're just like, oh, that's Steve's tractor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Steve's tractor's been sitting out there for 2.5 weeks.
This is the other black hole on used equipment lots is that the machine comes in, you traded it in, it gets put back there on the lot, like the same lot that all the customer stuff's on because it's going through the inspection process. And then you realize you're like,
man, that's been back there for a minute.
That's been back there for a minute. Yeah. I mean, like we got to get that up front. And then when we get it up front, well, by the time you get it up front, I mean, shit, man, that's been, if I had $1 for every time I had that same and I was a location manager, right? And I'm as guilty. I was a used equipment guy before I was a location manager guy. And I'm as guilty as anybody else. So going in there and sitting there and having that conversation, I'm like, where's XYZ Farms tractor at? And they're like, well, it's in the back.
You don't know.
Because it's dirty.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. Who cares if it's dirty? Get some bitch up front here. And then
it's real and it can be purchased.
Yes. I mean, we can get it cleaned up later, but I mean, that's a whole nother podcast.
So I'll run down a tick of a rabbit hole a little bit because what you just talked about for the last 15, 30 seconds there, minutes, you are literally like talking about what I think I know the best. And as you guys know, I really am a stickler on wash it. We're selling Lamborghinis, boys. Every one of those out there is, we think of it though, that's just a 8R. Well, to a guy on the board of trader in Wall Street, he's spending that much to buy a used Lamborghini. So let's treat it as such, if you will.
Yeah. Right.
That's why you got to have your pretty white rock.
Oh, son.
And your cornfield in the background. See,
the white rock bill around here sometimes gets out of hand.
It's got to be mind boggling.
You like, we just, fundamentals, just wash it, make it look respectable, take the last guy's spitter out of the cab. You guys have heard me, and everybody listen to this has heard me preach this for how many years, but the last year and a half, I've been traveling more than I ever was, going to every store and trying to do like Casey, you mentioned one time years ago that you guys had somebody that did like a preliminary inspection to kind of take some workflow out of the shop. And, does it have a problem that's obvious that the salesman missed, which is usually all of them. But so I've been doing that.
Everything's that way. Yeah.
And then just like, hey, that's, and then I keep telling myself in this market, some of my advertising tactics, I guess, if you will, is against everything I was taught and trained and what I truly believe because of the supply. Like a tractor that like I normally would have been like that needs a full detail, but well, wait a minute, boys, the sun's shining here. It's a 85/30. Why didn't you guys advertise this? And that's the same thing to your point. Well, it needs cleaned up. I'm not disagreeing that it needs cleaned up, but if we advertise it today, it's going to be sold in 48 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Yeah.
I've spent just a tremendous amount of time, miles on pickups, gallons of diesel fuel at $5. But like, all you got to do is find that one piece that.
And that's the other thing too. That's a used equipment guy thing. That what you just said right there. I have somebody come like, you can't come look at it to get cleaned up and take those pictures. I'm like, I go, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. But at the end of the day, unless there is just a cat got murdered inside of the cab,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
A whole family of raccoons decided to nest inside the cab of the combine. It's a combine.
Right.
It's coming out of the field. I mean, people expect to see that,
Unless, let me back that up. The second that guy is done with his pen, signing the PO where he trades that damn thing in, that is mine. It's available. Go. Right. Go right now. I don't care. It's not in. It might not be in.
Does it need to be cleaned to sell the front line? Then you have a bunch of corn stalks sitting on the top of the feeder house. No, you don't. I mean, obviously not. But it's got to be a degree of clean. Yeah, can you blow it off and like yeah? I mean, it just came in, Mr. Customer. You understand what it's like when your combine first comes in. Yep. Oh, sure, yeah, I do.
Haul it fast,
and you have all that stuff. And a lot of guys prefer to see it when it's like that. To be real honest with you,
and like. Inversely, this market, I feel like we've got our sales force has gotten a lot better about pre-selling. Like, they have to. At this point in time, like if it's hitting the line, I still, again, back to my roots and my training. If it's in this market that we've been in for the last year and a half, 2 years, if it hits the lot,
what's wrong with it?
I probably need it washed up just because like our sales force and our sales management staff has just been cranking it out of the park about going back to I call it old school ways of the role. Like you're jumping behind him and him and him, and they're putting roles together. But I'll admit it. I was like, I don't know if that can happen because I thought our customer base was just so indoctrinated to just
it's so chopped up now. You don't have A, B, C's, D's.
Right. And it
guys with money.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Our sales guys and our sales management have been hyper diligent about if it hits the lot, then you're in kind of Brent's world and my co-parts in this. And now you're in my world. Then I'm going to be like, hey, we can sell that how it sits. Take your old school training off where like super detailed. No, that's clean enough. Quite frankly, we all know what the camera hides a little bit of it anyway. Picture the thing. What do the tires look like? Bob's your uncle. Heaven forbid you pull the shop vac out and vacuum the cab kind of thing to take some pictures to sell it. But like our sales force has been from top to bottom, been really, really good about, they're just, quite frankly, most of the time they're washing them all the way out. And I'm like, I didn't think you could do it. I did not think it could be done because I never had seen it done before.
Right.
But man, they're washing out. I mean, not everything, but just a tremendous amount of the stuff that's getting washed through on the washout cycle is incredible. And when it lands and melts, kind of go, oh, okay, we'll blow it off.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's crazy important. So I think we've hit a good stopping point here. I mean, that conversation was a great one where we talked, we hit all the high points of everything that it is to be a used equipment guy right there. So
42 years ago, it's coming back.
It's all making its way back. All right. So,
1979. Here it is.
Yeah.
Do not answer that. Don't answer that.
1986.
Fennell was 1 year old in 1979, and you thought he was 40 in 1979. So.
Hey, I will have both of you know I wrote 3 papers, 2 in high school, 1 in college on the 80s farm crisis.
I'm sure you did.
Both over 100%.
I'm sure you did.
You're dedicated.
I'm a freak is what I am.
With movie tractors. Do you remember this? Movie tractors? Like who remembers the model of tractor from Footloose?
I do.
Rain
like
Man.
A 1080 Massey and a 2840 John Deere.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Massey had a 320, 340 dual loader on it, and the John Deere had a silage chopper. And Ren's shoelace got caught on the deer, so he couldn't jump off, and the guy rolled that Massey in the ditch, and I was pissed off as a kid because we were Massey as Massey can be, and my buddies were all John Deere, so they all talk shit about that.
All right, Field of Dreams, go.
I grew up in a different town. So
2640.
Did you notice the PTO wasn't running?
Oh, yeah.
As a kid, I was a kid when that was new, and my dad was like, "That PTO is not even running. This is just fake." in hindsight, I'm like, "Dad, it's ghosts walking out of a cornfield." Yeah, the PTO wasn't running. That's the most unrealistic,
right? No shit.
Yeah. Well, Brent, appreciate you being on the podcast, man. Folks want to reach out to you, get more information about what it is you're doing over there at AHW. What's the best way to do that?
Oh, just call, text, email 217-493-4750 is my cell, 217-388-7717 to the store, and first initial in my last name at ahwllc.com. That's
Brent Bowen. So it's B Bowen at ahw.com.
Bowen.
Bowen. And then you get that all figured out. Fintel, folks want to reach out to you and get more information about what you're doing at whatever it is that you're doing. What's the best way to do that?
Smoke Signals, Carrier Pigeon, Pony Express.
Word. Okay.
No.
Pony Express, really?
Yeah.
That's old school.
We still do. That's how we get our mail out here. You know that.
It's true. I feel like that some days, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you order from Amazon, you get it real quick.
Right there.
There you go. Now, call me, text me, 308-760-1193. You can email me, aaron.fintel at movingironlalluca.com.
Lalluca, like that.
Lalluca.
Nice. Yeah.
Or by my name on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn.
Yeah, the LinkedIn page, that's something else. You should check that out.
It is.
I am Casey Seymour, and you can find me at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC. Go to LinkedIn at Moving Iron Podcast, and also have a YouTube channel. Now, I would really appreciate if I could get as many people to subscribe to my link or my YouTube channel as possible. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
If you could do that.
Already subscribed, my friend.
Look at that guy.
Absolutely.
Coming out of nowhere.
He's ahead of me.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Way to go, co-host.
So if anyone that can subscribe to the old YouTube channel, man, I greatly appreciate that. Check that out. If you want to send me an email, send me an email at MovingIronPodcast at MovingIronPodcast.com. You can also text me at 308-765-0495. Pretty sure that's right.
I think so.
Yeah, check that out. So that you can email me, call me there, or email me. You can text me or call me at that. You can also any of the platforms that you want there, hit me up there and do it. If you have a question that you want someone to want us to discuss on the podcast, man, just send me a note and I'll make sure to do that. So, if you're interested in coming to the Moving Iron Summit coming up here in Nashville, Tennessee, September 6, 7, and 8, that will be that'll be coming up. Check that out on the Moving Iron LLC website. Brent has been to several of those. Brent, what's your thoughts on that Moving Iron Summit?
Won't miss it. Won't miss it. Fantastic networking, good topics of conversation, good speakers, good friends.
Right.
Great town.
If you're a dealer of any kind, you would admit, I mean, whether you're a full line dealership like us, or if you're whoever, a short line dealership, a jockey, whatever, you would go to that, right?
Oh, absolutely. No question.
Well worth your time. Well worth your time. So check that out. And so if you're interested in doing that, send me an email at MovingIronPodcast@MovingIronPodcast.com. I'll make sure to get back to you with whatever questions you got, or you can just sign up online at MovingIronLLC.com and we will make sure to get back to you. So with that, I am Casey Seymour with Aaron Fennell and Brent Bowen. Let's go do some iron, folks. Out.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard work.